Before we begin, I'd like to go over some of the rules in terms of this building. If for any reason a fire alarm goes off and you have to exit, those are the two exits in the back, and you go out the main entrance, which is where most of you came in. I think that pretty well covers all the arrangements that I have to make and all the arrangements that they've provided here in the facility. So if everybody could take a seat, we can begin.
Check one.
Okay, you can hear me? You want to check your mics to make sure they work? Okay. Welcome, everyone. I want to thank some people who've really contributed to this event. First of all, I'd like to extend the League's thanks to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation, the women's group who've set up this facility and helped us tonight to get everything set up. I'd also like to thank North Shore TV, who are providing their services free of charge. Are hoping to live stream it, but we certainly will have it up on YouTube within 48 hours so that the public can view the whole discussion. I'd like to welcome you all, first of all. As most of you know, I'm president of the League of Women Voters for Port Washington and Manhasset, and I'm delighted to see so many people who've come tonight. It's been very clear from all of our interactions with so many of you that people really like to hear what candidates have to say among the many issues that they're interested in our town. First, I'd like to thank all of you for coming to hear the candidates tonight. I know they've made a tremendous effort to be here. And the League also appreciates that the candidates who, by appearing tonight, show respect for each other and the value of civil discourse. And finally, you should know that the League of Women Voters is nonpartisan. And what does that mean? Well, we never support or oppose any political party or candidate. Our mission is to engage you, the voters, by bringing candidates for any given office into a shared space to respond respectfully to questions in a fair process. We often describe our mission as making democracy work. This includes all our voter services work, letting candidates speak directly to voters on issues that matter through forums like this, and through a variety of publications. And we put a number of posters out there with QR codes where you can get more information about what the League does. We want to educate and advocate with legislators on issues involving voting and elections, but also we're concerned, for example, on climate change, healthcare, and other matters of public policy. We only take positions on issues that have been thoroughly researched by our League. And if any of you are curious about what these issues are, there is a publication that Amazon puts out for $7, and it's called Issues for Impact, published by the LWV US. So you can get it on Amazon and find out the many issues that we're concerned with, because we never advocate for anything that hasn't been thoroughly researched by our League. We hope you'll consider joining the League, and remember that the League is not for women only, so please all join in. Thank you, and without further delay, I'm going to introduce a few of the people that you should know. Marie Bellon is the secretary of the League, and she will be our timer for this evening. And then Dorothy Schwetzka and Kate Hangley, who is over there, are collecting questions. So if you have questions during the evening, we also have a student here with us, Aubrey Collar, who can walk over to you if you just wave your hand, and she'll pick up additional cards with questions. Also, our moderator for this evening is Bella Wang, and she will be the rule maker, the arbitrator for the evening, and she'll be asking you questions. And if you would like to take over, we have everything here. Great. Take it over. Thank you.
Thank you, Regina. So as Regina said, my name is Bella, and I vote in New York City, so I do not vote here. For over a century, The League of Women Voters has sought to make democracy work by holding events just like this so that voters like you can hear the views and observe the behavior of candidates on a range of issues relevant to this community. This is why we ensure all candidates agree to the debate procedures. Further, by being here tonight, you as the audience have also agreed, as noted by the large posters, which I believe are all the way back there on the door. The League has used procedures like these for over 60 years to ensure fair process and encourage civil discourse. These rules are going to take about 3 minutes. Please bear with me. 1, the moderator will be a member of the League of Women Voters from outside the district. 2, candidates' opening statements will be determined by drawing lots before in-person events. The same order will be for opening and closing statements. 3, each candidate will be allowed 2 minutes for an opening statement. 4, after all candidates have spoken, the moderator will open the meeting with questions from the audience. Cards will be handed out for written questions. These will be vetted prior to being asked so that duplicative, personal, abusive, or biased questions can be discarded. 5, the moderator will be the arbiter of whether questions are appropriate, repetitive, or abusive. 6, each candidate will be given 1.5 minutes, so 90 seconds, to answer each question. At the moderator's discretion, the time for a response may be reduced as long as the same for everyone. There will be no rebuttal. Questions may be addressed to a specific candidate or to candidates in general, although all candidates will be given an opportunity to answer any question addressed, even if it is to a specific individual. 7, the moderator will attempt to rotate the order of responses for each question. 8, a League member will act as timekeeper. 1/2 minute from the end of any given time period, the timekeeper will alert the speaker by a prearranged signal. When the time is up, the speaker will be allowed to finish the sentence. Repeatedly speaking past the deadline may result in a candidate losing time for a future question or for others getting additional time. 9, candidates will have 1.5 minutes for a closing statement. 10, since the purpose of the meeting is to determine the candidate's views, no substitute speaker will be allowed to appear should a candidate be unable to attend in person. No written or recorded statement may be provided in lieu of active participation by a candidate. Forums require 2 or more candidates to be present for each seat. The use of props, charts, or visuals and the display of campaign collateral or apparel is prohibited. Finally, number 11, in accordance with League policy, the League owns the contents of its forums. Audio or video recording by authorized members of the media will be permitted only if agreed to by all candidates present. The League maintains the right to record the forum and publish it on LWV-controlled electronic pages. No other recording will be allowed. No partial transcript or recording may be published without written permission from the League. As moderator, I am the arbitrator of all decisions during the debate. So thank you for bearing with me while I read that whole page. As you know, we are here tonight because we believe that citizenship requires both voter education and civic engagement. We believe the responsibility for maintaining good government rests on you, the voters. So we have some expectations for the audience as well. 1, your purpose is to hear from candidates, so let's focus on their voices, not yours. 2, please remain seated and silent during the Q&A unless you are writing or submitting question cards, which many of you have already done. 3, any audience member who violates the agreed procedures for the forum or who disrupts the forum after being warned may be asked to leave. 4, to repeat, League policy permits only authorized recordings of these forums. Taking clips or segments is not authorized. North Shore TV is recording this forum for broadcast and will send it to us to post on our LWV of PWM YouTube channel within a week, long before the election. Finally, please be sure that your cell phones are turned off or silenced, and please do not block the doors or the camera. Okay, all that is done. We will be hearing from the 2 candidates vying to be town supervisor of North Hempstead for the next 2 years, Jennifer DeSena and challenger Dave Kerpen. When the candidates arrived, they flipped a coin for speaking order. Dave Kerpen will be going first for opening remarks and closing. Jennifer DeSena will be going second for opening remarks and closing. I will now ask the audience to applaud briefly after each opening statement and then to hold all applause and other response until after the closing statements. So, Mr. Kerpen, please begin.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting. My opponent is about to tell you that she cut taxes. But as a math teacher and an entrepreneur, I know fuzzy math when I see it. And I know nobody in this room feels like their taxes have gone down. Meanwhile, she spent more than $250,000 of her donors' money on vile, deceitful mailers. Mails filled with lies about me instead of the truth about her record. And this from someone who once said about her friend George Santos, quote, "While I am offended and disgusted at his deceit, my true concern is for the residents. He's betrayed the public's trust." Those were her words. And yet here she is, betraying the public's trust with deceit of her own. Let's look at her record. She took a $33,000 raise funded by taxpayers. She hired the highest paid employee in the history of North Hempstead, maybe in the country for any town government. And she's filled town hall with cronies, including the county executive's son-in-law. That's not leadership, it's self-dealing and waste. On top of that, my opponent broke her promise to fix our broken buildings department. Small businesses still wait endlessly for permits, losing money and jobs. I will tackle this once and for all, cutting red tape, modernizing the process, and finally letting small businesses open and thrive. Meanwhile, our greatest treasure, North Hempstead Beach Park, has been left in disrepair. I see opportunity where she's failed. As supervisor, I will cut taxes by eliminating waste and political perks, and I will transform North Hempstead Beach Park into the crown jewel of Long Island. Picture restaurants, family entertainment, concerts, festivals, and maybe even a banana ball expansion team, turning our parks and waterfronts into places where families can gather, businesses can grow, and our town can shine. North Hempstead deserves a supervisor who tells the truth, rejects extremes, and delivers results. My name is Dave Kerpen. I'm running not to serve insiders, but to serve all of you. Together, we can restore pride, build opportunity, and create the future this town deserves. Together, we can save with Dave.
Next candidate, Ms. DeSena.
Thank you. My name is Jen DeSena, and I'm running for re-election as your town supervisor. When I began this journey, I was balancing being a mom, a wife, and a nonprofit leader. I never held public office and was a political outsider. In 2 elections, I have faced 2 well-known seasoned gentlemen backed by a political machine that was entrenched over 30 years. So most people didn't think I could win, but I did. Because like you, I saw the writing on the wall. Our taxes were rising, services declining, and the cost of living driving families away. I knew we could do better. As a community servant and an SEC attorney, I brought transparency and results-driven accountability to Town Hall. I delivered the largest tax cut in town history, 3 years in a row, for over 20%. I did this while maintaining our AAA bond rating from Moody's. I mandated that all town meetings, day or night, be televised so you can see what's going on in your government from the convenience of your own home. We went from paving just 8 miles of roads a year to more than 40 miles this year. I secured a $28 million agreement with the MTA to replace the Webster Avenue Bridge at 0 cost to the town. We installed a new sewer line on Plandome Road, great for businesses and the environment, again at no cost to taxpayers. We launched a parks renaissance, adding pickleball courts, renovating neglected tracks, fields, and parking lots, even upgrading the training area for our local fire departments, all completed early and under budget. We just opened a completely renovated Broadway park and even expanded our dog park, and we planted 1,200 trees. I negotiated a new agreement for Harbor Links, improving the facility and generating over $18 million for taxpayers. I commissioned an independent audit of our building department, leading to the most comprehensive reform in our town's history. We're working smarter and serving our residents better. Tonight, I ask for your vote to continue our progress and keep moving forward.
Thank you. We will now begin with the questions from the audience. As a reminder to the audience, please hold all of your applause from now until the end of the forum. We have assembled to hear from candidates, not from fellow citizens. So the first question goes to Ms. DeSena, and forgive me, I'm combining a few questions here, so I will do my best to make this reasonable. What is your approach to taxes? You have cut taxes for 3 years in a row. You also have an ad attacking Dave Kerpen for raising taxes as a member of a school board. What are your priorities? Would you oppose funding for education?
Well, the town supervisor has nothing to do with funding for education. I will give, though, while I have the chance, I'm going to give Receiver of Taxes, Mayor Joe Collins, a shout out for managing your school's money and returning 200% more interest than the schools got ever before.
Thank you. No comments from the...
But the schools, we don't have anything to do with the schools. And, you know, if you did see an increase in your taxes, even during the last 3 years when your town taxes went down, you know it's because of your school taxes. We know that. We have great schools. But the taxes go up every year, including the years when Mr. Kerpen was on the school board. So it is a true statement. As for cutting taxes, we have managed better. We've purchased better. We've taken a town-wide approach when we do projects such as installing 7,000 new LED lights. We're doing this in a year. This was promised 10 years ago. That was just a headline, but we're actually doing it. We're buying the lights, we're installing them systematically and efficiently. Same with paving roads. When you do the worst first, when you pave efficiently, you can buy better. We have better commissioners. We have a qualified a purchasing director who does well, and we are managing better. That's how I cut taxes 3 years in a row.
Mr. Kerpen.
Thank you. So you asked for our opinion on taxes. I'm going to cut taxes despite all the lies that my opponent continues to send out mail after mail after mail. Not only am I going to cut taxes, when I'm said and done, I'd like to completely eliminate local taxes. And we can do it. You look at states that have cut income taxes. We can absolutely do it if we drive revenue other ways. With respect to my opponent's lies about the school board, let me give her a quick lesson in how government works. The school board creates a budget. Voters vote on that budget. So when I was in Port Washington on the school board, we created a budget. Voters voted on that budget. What I'm really curious about, since Ms. DeSena has argued that I raised taxes on the school board, is what did she vote in Manhasset? Did she vote for the school budget, thereby raising taxes according to your definition? Or did my opponent vote against the budget? I'm sure parents would love to know if she did not support the Manhasset school budget.
Thank you. On the next subject of spending, this is also a question primarily for Jen DeSena, but I will ask it to both of you, and starting with Mr. Kerpen. Why did you allocate taxpayer dollars to sue the state for moving elections to even-numbered years? With all the issues surrounding the town, like our shorelines, affordability, and public safety, why did you waste your money in this way?
You're asking me first why she wasted our money in suing the state?
I'm reading the card.
Okay. I'm not sure why she wasted our money in suing the state. I am an entrepreneur, and that's why I'm particularly offended by all of the lies saying that I'm going to raise taxes, tax hiker Dave, be afraid of raising taxes. I am going to run this town like I run my businesses, watching every single penny. And you can best be sure I will cut taxes, not raise taxes. I will make sure we spend every dollar carefully. So to answer your question for why Ms. DeSena is wasting money on frivolous lawsuits, I have no idea. I'll let her answer that. But I can promise you this, I will not waste a single dollar. I will run it like I run my businesses and like I run my household and like you all run your household. Because we all know you can't spend more than you take in. You can't. You got to do the math. So if the town is taking in money and we need to cut taxes, we need to make sure we're not spending money on frivolous lawsuits.
Ms. DeSena.
The town is not spending money on the lawsuit. We joined as a plaintiff in a lawsuit. And I'm not sure which law, if you're referring to the odd-even litigation lawsuit. I would actually be curious what all of you think about that, and frankly, the league, because this statute will take away local elections. This is an odd year. It's for county and town elections. This is when you vote based on safety in your neighborhood. County, that's police. We're talking about roads. We're talking about zoning. It's your neighborhood. So the issues are a little different in the town and county year than they are in the gubernatorial and presidential years. So this will be the last of those. So next year, the town supervisor is going to be running alongside Congress and the governor and the state legislators. So how many people are really going to have time to learn where the candidate stands, what are the issues? So if you care about educated voters and freedom of speech and being able to know what's going on at your local level, why don't we keep the local elections? There's no barrier to voting. Let's keep them this year. It was done this way 100 years ago in order to separate local elections from the big money of the big political parties. We should keep it that way so that our local issues that matter to us are addressed.
Thank you. Next question. Ms. DeSena, what will you do to further limit the noise and pollution caused by the nearly year-round use of leaf blowers by, quote, lawn services?
So there is a law that was put into effect prior to my becoming supervisor, and we had business owners and advocates from the community work on this. It didn't work very well because you can create a law, but if you can't enforce it, what's the point? So we tried to balance, the prior town board, I should say, tried to balance the interests of the business owners who have equipment and employees and the residents. They came up with a law that applies only during the summer months. Again, it's been very difficult to enforce because landscapers are here and then they're gone. So what I think would be better would be if some sort of incentive were offered to the landscapers so that they could purchase the equipment that they need. If we don't have that type of incentive, we're really just hurting our small businesses and possibly the employees.
Mr. Kerpen.
I'm not sure why my opponent is unable to enforce this law, but once I'm elected, I will enforce this. When I spoke recently at Greater Manhasset Council, folks from the different civic associations talked about how it's an issue. And frankly, I see it as a great revenue opportunity. So this is yet another way that I can cut taxes by actually enforcing the leaf blower laws, raising revenue from those that are in violation, which will in turn drive more revenue for the town. I can't wait to do that.
Thank you. A couple of questions about parks that I'm going to combine. So first, why is North Hempstead Beach Park still in such bad shape? What are your plans to fix it? And then specifically for Dave, please elaborate on your statement that you plan on monetizing the town parks. Mr. Kerpen.
I can't answer why, after so many years, the park is in such a state of disarray, but I look forward to my opponent's answer on that. The reality is a master plan was developed several years ago, and nothing has been done for years, and it is a shame. It is really, really sad. The good news is, not only will we beautify North Hempstead Beach Park once elected, we will go into each and every park, and we will do an assessment of how to drive revenue. So, for example, in East Williston, when my son played in the sectionals for 10U, by the way, second in the state, Port Washington, go Port, I noticed that there was nothing to eat in the park. So that's such an easy win to bring in a food truck to do a public-private partnership and drive revenue in that East Williston field. And by the way, we can charge more to out-of-towners. People from Hempstead will charge them more than locals. North Hempstead Beach Park is this amazing, amazing opportunity. I see this as potentially a true destination where people will come from Brooklyn, Queens, all over Long Island, Westchester. You know, my favorite movie is Field of Dreams, and the line from there is, if you build it, they will come. We will build it, and they will come, and we will drive massive revenue, create lots of job opportunities, and do all of the great things that the C word would have brought, with none of the downside. None of the downside of a casino, all of the upside of a minor league park.
Thank you. Before, I'm just reminding the audience, keep it still. We're here to listen to the candidates. Ms. DeSena.
So the vision of this baseball field, I'm picturing all this money, all these people. I'm picturing 10,000 cars driving into North Hempstead Beach Park. Do we really want that kind of revenue? Because I see a lot of children using that park. I see a lot of seniors walking there, and we have wonderful festivals, right? Tonight is the Greek festival. Maybe you can get there after here. But we have wonderful community events there. I don't think anyone in this room wants to see a 10,000-seat baseball field built in North Hempstead Beach Park. So we took this park from the county. I should say John Kamen took the park from the county over 15 years ago. And when he did, there was no funds for repairing and maintaining it. In fact, someone scribbled out the description of the park and wrote "as is" because it had a lot of problems, but we didn't receive the funds to repair the problems. So no, nothing was done, including when I became supervisor. There had been a visioning plan, no RFPs, nothing. But here's the thing. We need a state permit we need a permit from the DEC to even begin. We are trying to do a coastline stabilization. Without a DEC permit, we can't begin. So we have to modify the plan in order to get it past the state. We have no sewer there. So that is something that I'm trying to get money for. You need the sewer first.
Thank you.
Then you put the improvements on top.
Next question. What is being done to replace the Safe Center? While it was not located in North Hempstead, it was the only place in the county where North Hempstead residents could go if they were a victim of sexual assault, domestic violence, or child abuse. What do you intend to do about it? Ms. DeSena.
That was a county facility. North Hempstead does not have the same type of social services that we have at the county level. We don't have a Department of Social Services. We do have nurses and social workers, and they do amazing work with our seniors every day, Monday through Friday. We have nurses and social workers, and they make sure that our seniors aren't suffering from loneliness, from high blood pressure. You can call a taxi to get a free ride to your doctor. We have many agreements with Northwell and Catholic Health. We have buses come, and you can have your blood pressure done through the summer. We have all sorts of programs. But always, in fact, we just started a walking program. Seniors are meeting over at Tully, and they're walking Wednesday mornings. And guess who's going with them? A nurse. So we always have our eyes on people. We're educating them about mental health. And, that safety net does exist for our seniors. We have over 17,000 seniors registered, and we're always registering more. If you know someone who's 60 and lives in the town of North Hempstead, please call 311 and have them sign up for an amazing assortment of safety network.
Mr. Kerpen.
So first, let me address what my opponent said about the baseball field. She said nobody wants a baseball field. Let me tell you, dozens and dozens of people have told me how excited they are for my baseball field idea. And in case you missed it, the Savannah Bananas just sold out Yankee Stadium for 2 consecutive days. So I'm quite confident that a lot of people will be very, very excited about the baseball field. But on to much more serious matters. You were asked about the Safe Center. She was asked about the Safe Center, and she responded by talking about seniors. Let me tell you something. I am a proud moderate. And despite all the lies that my opponent is saying about me, I have been very proud to represent truly the middle. But let me tell you, one time I'm proud to be a Democrat is when people talk about needed social services, and my opponent says, well, we don't have those types of services. Well, when I am supervisor, there will be a place for victims of domestic abuse. There will be a place for victims of sexual abuse. And frankly, it's outrageous that my opponent just shrugged it off as if it's something that the county should handle and not the town. We will always be a place where we take care of each other, where we take care of our neighbors, and we take care of people that need it the most. And by the way, we can do all of that and still cut taxes.
Thank you. Next question. Do you feel ICE should have limits in Nassau County? If so, what limits? If not, why? Another person in the audience asked, how will you react if the federal government issues directives that call upon local governments to violate citizens and non-citizens' rights? Mr. Kerpen.
Yeah, so of course, we need to make sure that we are cooperating with local authorities and taking care of those that are here illegally. But under our current president and county executive, and under my opponent's party's rule, ICE has obviously gone way, way too far. And there is now an undercurrent of fear. When I knock on doors, as I'm campaigning out there, when I knock on doors in affluent communities, people welcome me in, they write me a check, they make me coffee. When I knock on doors in poorer communities, people are afraid to come to the door. They're afraid to come to the door because they know what is happening. They've heard about their friends. They've heard about their cousins. They've heard about the overstepping of ICE, wearing masks. It's not okay. And while we absolutely will comply with the law, although I am going to open the borders. I don't know if you guys saw. I'm going to open the borders. I'm going to let everyone in from Oyster Bay and Hempstead and maybe even Queens. While we will absolutely comply with the law, we will make sure, as I said in the last question, to protect our most vulnerable.
Ms. DeSena. And as a reminder, less commentary from the audience. Thank you.
So North Hempstead does not have a police force. Some of the villages have police. We rely on Nassau County, and our law enforcement in Nassau County has made us the safest county in the country. As for ICE, we have nothing to do with that. And I think the most important thing is to make sure that we have access to people who are in custody. We need to know, are they healthy? We need them to be able to be in contact with their families. And so I think that, there should be at least a minimal look at what allegations there are. But really, it doesn't have any more to do with the town.
Thank you. We have several complaints here around caustic mailers being sent to families, childish fighting at board meetings is another quote. What are your plans to turn down the political rhetoric and bring more unity to the town? Ms. DeSena.
We have had a wonderful experiment at the town, learning to be bipartisan. We didn't have that for 30 years. It was a real, one-party rule. So the past 4 years have been interesting. Oh, hi, Marianne. Good to see you. It's been interesting. And most of the work we do for the town, we're working together. Especially, we all care about our parks and our programs, including Project Independence. So, most of it is really, it's not that interesting. And it's fully agreed on by our whole town board. We vote unanimously on most things. Now, occasionally, people try and, score a point against the other side. And it's unfortunate because it can end up wasting our residents' time. And that's why I was glad that this year we adopted a rule that said we're not going to discuss during the business portion of our meeting things that have nothing to do with town business. We have a lot to do for our residents, having to do with parks and roads, and we don't need to rehash things that happen around the country that we have no control over. So I think that we are working towards really focusing on delivering. We have been delivering very well for the residents. As for mailers, everything is true in the mailers. So, sorry.
Thank you. Enough commentary from the audience. Thank you. Please go.
I feel truly bad for Ms. DeSena.
No
Of
rebuttals.
course,
We're not doing rebuttals.
I hadn't answered the question.
He had not yet answered the question. I believe I asked you the question originally, and now he's answering.
Can you start my time again? Boy, I feel bad for Ms. DeSena, my opponent, because for her to say that these are truths, it's really quite sad. She came here 4 years ago. She was not a politician. I watched the debate. She was an eager person that wanted to make a difference. And 4 years later, she's become the very essence of a politician. And, she's asked a question about rhetoric and is sending out $250,000 worth of deceitful, vile, cruel things that have nothing to do with the town and that my 10-year-old son has to see. Dave Kerpen is the criminal's best friend? Okay, help me understand the truth of that. By the way, I was so glad that she said in the last comment that she pointed out that North Hempstead doesn't have a police force, which is true, which is why it's curious that her mailers say that I want to defund the police, which is not true nor relevant at all in a town government. Look, nobody cares whether a Republican or Democrat paves your road. Nobody cares whether a Democrat or Republican cleans your streets. Nobody cares whether a Democrat or Republican takes out your trash. And you have my word. Once I am elected, I will put an end to this ridiculous, inappropriate, bitter, partisan politics that my opponent has brought in over the last 4 years.
Thank you. Again, I know it is hard to keep your calm, but I'm really asking you all as voters to just listen to what you're saying, what is being said, and absorb it. Thank you. Okay. This is a question for Ms. DeSena, but I'm going to start with Mr. Kerpen because that is who is next in the lineup. There was a flyer that noted that Ms. DeSena was fixing the building department. You have been in office for almost 4 years. Why didn't you already fix things? Are you responsible for anything else that is currently broken? Mr. Kerpen.
Yeah, the buildings department has been an issue for, I don't know, decades, basically. So it's not just Ms. DeSena that has done nothing to fix the problem. It's the supervisors before her, Democrats and Republicans. It's a crying shame. She's had 4 years to do it. She did an audit, took 2 years, finally got some recommendations, is finally starting to implement things. But I talk to small business owners out there all the time. I'm a small business owner myself, 7 businesses. I can tell you that small business owners do not see a fix to the buildings department yet. It still takes many, many months to get a permit, and that's not right. So once I'm supervisor, we will fast track this. We will adopt self-certification as all the large towns and cities do, and we will move in the right direction so that we can get our small businesses up and running, so that we can fill our main streets in Port Washington, in Westbury, in Great Neck, in New Hyde Park, and all over town where there are empty, vacant lots, thanks to the mismanagement and the bureaucracy of the buildings department under my opponent and under previous supervisors. It's time to fix the buildings department once and for all. And if I don't fix the buildings department, vote me out. But I will fix the buildings department once and for all. You can count on it.
Ms. DeSena.
So the building department has been troubled for at least 15 years. That is when there were actual prosecutions and at least one went to jail. So you can't fix that overnight. Although we have tried, you cannot fix that overnight. There are many problems. The first 2 years I was in office, I was not able to get some reforms passed that I attempted when I didn't have the majority of the board. But I was able to have the county controller, Elaine Phillips, conduct a very thorough audit. And then when we finally had control over the board, we started making changes. So now we are finally digitizing records. I don't know why it wasn't done. How do you have an online system when your records are still in the basement? So we finally have begun that process. We are migrating to a cloud-based server called OpenGov that has transformed the building departments in other local towns. No one anywhere near here uses CitizenServe that we were using. We have new leadership. We have a phone number where you can call and speak to the people responsible for your case. We have broken down the wall, so now you can come in and meet with the inspectors and the commissioners before you file so that you don't make costly mistakes, because time is money. We are seeing a difference. People are getting their permits much faster, and no, it is not fixed, but I am fixing it. Thank you.
Next, advocates have been begging for a cat shelter for many years. Supervisor DeSena even signed a petition stating that she was in support of this, yet here we are in 2025 still begging for a cat shelter. Another person on the same note says we received two $200,000 grants in 2019, 2024 from the State Companion Grant Fund with a 10% match secured. Why has the money not gone to help the cats with either a shelter or putting them dog shelters as Judy Bosworth's feasibility study suggested? What is the plan, Ms. DeSena?
So when I was still a candidate and didn't see the cost of building a new shelter, what I signed was something saying we should improve the condition. And we should and we can, but the answer is more trap, neuter, and release programs. Anyone who deals with cats will tell you that putting feral cats inside of a shelter is cruel. It is not the solution. The solution is more TNR programs, and we did add more TNR programs since I was supervisor. We now have a voucher program so that rescuers can pick up the voucher anytime they have the cat and bring it to the vet who is participating. Unfortunately, they're not being used. So every meeting people say, why aren't we talking about it? Well, we are. So more people should come in. Tina is the woman in the animal shelter who will give you a voucher, and you can trap a cat and bring it to the participating vet. Over 20 years ago, the decision was made to not build a cat shelter. And so we will continue working on improving TNR. Thank you.
Mr. Kerpen.
This one is for my daughter's cat, Tova. When I was married, almost 20 years ago now, my wife and I wanted a huge wedding, but we couldn't afford one. So we thought of a big idea. We got married at a baseball stadium, and we sold sponsorships to the wedding. And 1-800-Flowers.com sponsored our flowers, and Smirnoff sponsored our alcohol, and David's Bridal sponsored our bridesmaids' gowns, and Entenmann sponsored our desserts. And we raised $100,000 for an amazing wedding, got married in front of 500 friends and family, and 5,000 strangers. When there's a will, there's a way. Miss DeSena promised a cat shelter. 4 years later, there's no cat shelter. I will promise a cat shelter, and I will build a cat shelter within the first year, and I will not pass any of the cost to taxpayers, not a single dime. We will get sponsorships from cat food companies. We will get sponsorships and grant money, and we will deliver a cat shelter because we are the only town in all of Long Island without a cat shelter, and that's not okay.
Thank you. No, again, I'm really asking for respect. I understand that many of you are opinionated. I get it, but nevertheless, thank you. Okay, next question. Where am I on this list? Okay, Mr. Kerpen, I think you're next, right? Will you bring back the Town Environmental Committee?
Yes, as I understand it, Ms. DeSena talked about a Smart Communities Task Force that hasn't met in over a year. Not only will I bring back the committee, I will bring on an environmental sustainability czar. You know, environmental sustainability is one issue that I don't know a lot about. So my job as a leader isn't to know everything about everything. It's to understand what I know and don't know and bring in great leaders and surround myself with great leaders who are smarter than I am and more knowledgeable than I am in different areas. So we will we'll bring back the environmental sustainability czar, and we will find out ways that we can improve on environmental issues and not cost taxpayers additional revenue. One idea I have, for example, is a composting program that would have some built-in incentives so that we can get people changing their consumer behavior. One of the hardest things to do is to change consumer behavior. But as folks start to see some of the benefits, they can start to adopt these things. So yes, I will bring back an environmental sustainability czar and make sure that we are moving in the right direction. We should be leaders. We should have the best town in the country when it comes to environmental sustainability. There's no reason we can't do that.
Thank you, Mr. DeSena.
We are leaders in the town. We have 3 full-time employees in our planning department who work on environmental sustainability. And we also have a consultant. We have programs all the time. We have the native plant rebate. You can get $350 if you plant native plants. We just had a collaboration with a company called Spadefoot where we educated people about the Dirty Dozen. These are plants that are really, it's like cement. Picture, it's all green, but if you have the Dirty Dozen there, it's like cement. The water's not going in the ground. So we are teaching how to remove those plants, and what's important when you remove it is to get the native plants in there right away. So we are leaders in environmental sustainability, and we will continue that position.
Thank you. This is directed towards Ms. DeSena. Why do you still have 4 assistants while there are still public safety positions empty? Ms. DeSena.
That's interesting. Why do I have 4 assistants? Supervisor Bosworth had over 20. So yeah, we in my office, we receive a lot of inquiries, a lot of citizens asking for help. We're quite busy, so 4 assistants is really a pretty small number, and I'll tell you, they work very hard. As for code enforcement, those are civil service positions. You have to take an exam you have to be certified. So the reason they're not filled is that we haven't had qualified people. So I beg you, apply. There are positions in code enforcement.
Mr. Kerpen.
I'm going to offer a free copy of my latest book for my opponent. It's called Get Over Yourself. It's all about delegation. Ms. Bosworth may have had 20, but 4 is 3 too many. Once I am supervisor, I will have 1 personal assistant, and I will still respond to each and every person, each and every constituent that reaches out. One of the things that breaks my heart is how many dozens of people have told me they have emailed and called the supervisor's office with literally 0 response except an auto reply. It's completely unacceptable, and perhaps those 4 assistants and the supervisor are still unable to handle the number of inquiries. But as an entrepreneur an author that gets hundreds of inquiries every single day, I respond to each and every one of them, and I will make sure once I'm supervisor, with the help of just 1 assistant, we will respond to each and every constituent.
Thank you. Mr. Kerpen, how do you feel about accessibility by the general population to participate in town meetings about transparency? This person please also comment on the general population not being able to have comments on a first come, first served basis anymore at town meetings and public hearings being moved to weekday mornings.
Yeah, my opponent talked about transparency, but the reality is the current town government is anything but transparent. My opponent talks about the fact that it's available, meetings are available via video. Now, again, I am literally an internet entrepreneur, and it took me over an hour to find the live stream link for the meetings. They are that difficult to find. I would love to see the numbers about how many townspeople have tuned in to our meetings. It has got to be a minuscule number. The reality is that we are currently not doing a good job of bringing government to the people. We can do way better. We can use social media. We can live stream on social. We can have interactive comment streams throughout the meetings. We can vary the times a lot more to give people options of when they want to attend meetings. We can do a lot better. As for the public comments, obviously, it doesn't make sense for the supervisor to choose which questions get answered and which don't, but that's something that we'll quickly remedy once I'm supervisor again.
Ms. DeSena.
So the presiding officer of a meeting generally controls the meeting. That's the way it is in all town meetings. So for the presiding officer, which is me, to have the comment cards and be able to call people and see where they're coming from where I sit, it's not unusual at all. It's very common. As for meeting times, we actually, under my administration, started varying the meeting times. They used to only be at night, and the meetings would go past midnight because some of these hearings are very detailed. We have attorneys, we have engineers, architects, traffic engineers, and some of these hearings take over an hour and a half. And what if you have 2 or 3? And then you're going to start doing town business at midnight? That's what was happening. So we created a daytime meeting for the public hearings, which are very, intensive with professionals often, lawyers there, and basically it's easier on our staff, it's easier on the businesses that are involved, and all the professionals. So again, it is better variety. We also have the flexibility to have a public meeting in the evening if we need to. So as for interacting by social media during a meeting, I'm not sure that we really want that, and I know that we have plenty of people watching from home the video.
Ms. DeSena, next question. All politics is local. What is your position on development in, I believe this says Manhasset Isle in Port Washington?
Well, that is very local. That is a village. And so the village determines for itself its zoning. I see on Facebook people complaining, but, that's unfortunately the state of Facebook. But the village of Manor Haven has its own planning board and elected officials, and everybody who moved there, they knew that they were obtaining, specific rules for their village. Obviously, they have to consider water source, but that is their province.
Mr. Kerpen.
Here's the thing. As an entrepreneur, I'm always looking at creating win-wins. And this question of development is no different. To my opponent's point, within individual villages, they have a lot of control over development within that village. But my job as the town supervisor is to help enable great development that benefits everyone, to help enable development that brings in new small businesses, to help enable development that brings in opportunities for folks to have housing that isn't gonna bankrupt them. I mean, my daughter just graduated from college and she can't afford to live in North Hempstead. That's a problem. We need to encourage and work together, collaborate, to have sensible development, to bring in small businesses, and to bring in more opportunities for people to live here affordably.
Thank you. Mr. Kerpen, will you create and support a technical advisory commission with qualified residents willing to offer their assistance?
Hell yeah. I mean, I can use all the help I can get. Yes, I would love to have lots of volunteer citizens helping inform me. As I said earlier, I know a bunch of things, but I haven't been in government before. So I know from math, and I know from business, and I know from bringing people together and connecting people. But there are lots of things I don't know, and I can learn by bringing in citizens from all over town to help advise me.
Ms. DeSena.
The town board always wants to hear from its residents. That's the beauty of having local government, is that we are here. You can see us walking around town. You can come to our concerts and ask us questions and tell us things. We have meetings every month. But it is our responsibility to make certain decisions. And so it is a difficult decision. You know, you can't just say, yes, I want to give you that. Yes, I'm going to give you that. We're going to have this. These all cost money. The things that are being said here tonight do cost money and will raise your taxes. So yes, it's always important to make sure we're hearing what's latest, and the town can hire and does hire a consultant sometimes to help it with these decisions. But ultimately, you really you can't delegate all the authority of the town board to citizens, because it's a tough job, but sometimes we have to balance the interests and we have to make difficult decisions that not everybody likes. And it is our responsibility to do it.
Ms. DeSena, you talked about making building department records digital. What is the process for getting this done, and when can we expect this project to be completed?
It is ongoing. We have staff that are reviewing the documents, making sure we're not wasting money by scanning duplicate documents. They'll be scanned now. It will probably take several months. Then there also will be additional documents in the town clerk's office. So it'll probably be a few months.
Mr. Kerpen.
A few months. It's been 4 years. And, since my opponent took over 4 years ago, she made lots of promises. For the first 2 years, she said she couldn't accomplish anything because the board was mixed. But she's had 2 years since then. Enough is enough. I have an action towards, I have a bias towards action. We will always see how quickly we can move, how quickly we can take action. And I don't want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on audits. Let's figure out what the problem is. Let's get everyone in the room together and figure out what the problem is. My opponent just talked about having to bring on outside consultants. That's what costs extra money. Citizens who advise us, volunteers who advise us, don't cost extra money. But bringing in outside consultants and outside lawyers, that's what costs us money. So my opponent seems quite sure from the dozens of flyers that she sent out that I'm going to raise taxes. Let me be crystal clear. I will lower your taxes. In fact, if you give me a few years, I will completely eliminate your local taxes by creative ways to change government.
Thank you. The supervisor is only one of 7 on the town board. What is your approach to solving issues when facing opposition? How do you know when to compromise? A second person brings up a particular, they phrased it as muzzling First Amendment free speech protections for the town board members on so-called town-related matters. Who determines what matters pertain to the town or not? So let me just reiterate both of those. When do you know to compromise, and who determines what matters pertain to the town? Mr. Kerpen.
Yeah, so 2 different people that work for the current town supervisor have come to me anonymously and told me how difficult it is to work under the current town supervisor. And I said, don't worry, change is a-coming. My proudest accomplishment in my entire career is winning Crane's Best Places to Work 5 years in a row with 2 different businesses. And the reason I'm so proud of that is that the winners are chosen by employee anonymous surveys. So all of our employees at Likeable for 4 years and then Likeable Local for the 5th year were surveyed anonymously about their leadership, about how much they like coming to work every day. And they voted us as one of the top places to work 5 years in a row. So I am so excited to take the challenge of collaborating with people across the aisle, to take the challenge of working with constituents, with consultants, with my team, with people, quote, on the other side, and to build consensus and to collaborate and to make the town of North Hempstead an amazing place to work, where people get excited about going to work every day, where people are proud to be public servants, where people have fun doing the work of government. It is possible, and we will do it.
Ms. DeSena.
Okay, so I imagine that the town of North Hempstead workforce is slightly different than your Likeable Media was. We have over 400 employees. In fact, in the summer, we have 800 employees. And I think one of your employees was your wife. So she probably couldn't really fill that questionnaire out, honestly.
Not my employee, my partner.
No rebuttals, thank you.
Anyway, obviously when you have a small company, do you really feel that you can be honest? I mean, everyone's going to know who wrote the surveys. But anyway, I'm sure they were really nice places to work. And so is the town of North Hempstead. As for, I can't remember, what was the rest of the question?
I think there was also, so it was who determines what matters pertain to the town or not, and then also what is your approach to solving issues when facing opposition?
Well, if the town votes and it will affect something, then it relates to the town. So if you're voting on something about something that happened, say on the border of Mexico, why would we vote on that? We can't affect it. I'm going to give you an example of something that happened a couple years ago, where there was a 5-hour hearing about a woman's right to choose. The town doesn't get to decide that. That's a New York State medical issue. So it really just divided the town. We had people fighting in town hall. We had our staff consumed with this issue for a couple months. And in the end of the day, we don't have any effect on that. So that's how you can tell, is it something that we make a difference on or not? And if we ever had any question, we could ask the town attorney, but it's really pretty obvious.
Thank you. When was the last meeting of the ethics committee? What do they do? There is another audience member who has a concern around hiring Bruce Blakeman's son-in-law to a town position. Ms. DeSena.
All of our employees are qualified. We did not hire anyone who is not qualified for the job. So the individual who you're referring to is very well qualified for the job he is serving in. The ethics board meets as needed, but they meet definitely every year to review potential conflicts of interest. So we disclose if we own a company that does business with the town, or if we have any family members doing business with the town. The ethics board is available as needed. If any employee had a question, they could go ask the ethics board if they didn't want to do something that would get them in trouble. Sometimes, I mean, we have someone who has been asking the ethics board to make a ruling, but the town attorney has stated that we don't have jurisdiction. So they're available, but they also have an annual duty of reviewing every employee's, actually almost every employee's disclosure forms.
Mr. Kerpen.
First, let me address what my opponent said in the previous statement. My opponent talked about how the woman's right to choose has nothing to do with
Could you
it.
please stay on topic? Thank you.
She's
Oh, I'm
referencing
sorry.
something from me. I thought I could
apologize.
use the time how I
lost
want.
track. Thank you.
May I use the time?
You should use your time. I'm
Thank you so much. So first, she said that a woman's right to choose has nothing to do with the town issue. So what I'm so curious about is why my opponent feels comfortable sending out mailers about cash bail and defunding the police and reparation and border crossings, which clearly have absolutely nothing to do with town issues. With respect to the question on ethics, even the appearance of impropriety, no matter how qualified a candidate is an ethics violation. So under my leadership, there will be no one hired that could have the appearance of impropriety. So no family members of elected officials will be hired by me once I am supervisor. Yep, that's right. There are lots and lots of cronies from Republicans and from Democrats, and their time is up. Their time is up. Once I am elected, the time for cronies and political appointments is over.
Thank you, Mr. Kerpen. The town of North Hempstead will need more energy in the future. Ms. DeSena has opposed new electric infrastructure. Why, and how do you feel about it in your case?
I'm so sorry, that was for me. I missed the question. Could you repeat the question, please?
The
Thank you so
town
much.
of North Hempstead will need more energy in the future. Ms. DeSena has opposed new electric infrastructure. Why, and how do you feel about it?
Well, I'm not sure why she's opposed it. I think that that new energy initiatives are absolutely worth looking at. I think the one that I find the most interesting is battery storage. I think we still have to work out some of the details for sure, but I'm learning. I'm getting educated by folks, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for alternative energy. I'm really confused why my opponent has gone all the way to Hempstead to turn against all the potential wind energy solutions. That have nothing to do with this town. But as for what's possible in this town, we absolutely need to explore alternative energy solutions. Absolutely.
Ms. DeSena.
Mr. Kerpen, I don't know if you said I was against alternative energy. I'm not. Not at all. I did go to Hempstead because the governor was taking away the local control. Her bill was taking away our town's right to have a hearing on what is going to be built next to your home. I mean, we are on an island. This is not upstate New York where you have land. We're very built up in North Hempstead and in Hempstead. And so when the governor proposes an act that says we can build a giant utility plant next to your house, whether you like it or not, I'm going to protest that. I think that we need to have local hearings so that people can come and say how they feel about having a large utility built next to their house. As for battery storage, what we wanted was time for our local fire departments to learn how do they put out this type of a fire. You don't use water. Some of these battery storage plants, you don't use water. You just let it burn. Again, you're already living in a neighborhood and someone's going to build something there that if it goes on fire, you just let it burn. How is that going to affect your air and your water? This is something the fire departments needed to know more about.
We have 2 more questions. So thank you to everyone who's been submitting questions. It's been very helpful to us. So second to last, Ms. DeSena, you have taken paving away from, I'm reading this handwriting, from some areas in Lake Port, Washington. This is unfair. Don't we pay enough taxes? Let me try it again. You have taken, this is a lack of geography knowledge, am I right? You've taken paving away from some areas in like Port Washington. this is unfair, don't we pay enough taxes? Ms. DeSena.
Okay, so I didn't take paving away from anyone. What I did was give the decision to the experts who the town pays, such as the engineer who is the head of our Department of Public Works, who happens to be a Port Washington resident. She consulted with our highway supervisors who know the roads very well. They're out on the roads every day of the year. And I think our highway supervisors and our Public Works Commissioner are very qualified to say which roads are in the worst condition. What we did this year was a list that addresses worst first. I think that is safer for everyone in the town, no matter where you're driving. I think you address the streets in the worst condition first. You don't divide it up into 6 districts and say, everybody grab what you want, because the districts are different. District 6 happens to have, I believe, 8 villages in it. We don't pave those roads. So of course, the end number happens to be less. And as you know, there are many cement roads. You don't pave those either. They're very expensive. So what we did is we took the politics out. We let the professionals choose which ones, and they also happen to know which roads have been ripped up by utilities, which ones were ripped up last year, and which ones are going to be ripped up next year. You're not going to pave a road if it's scheduled to be ripped up next year. So all these factors are considered by our professionals.
Mr. Kerpen.
The inequitable paving of the roads is yet another shameful example of partisan politics. Again, I feel bad for my opponent, because 4 years ago, she was a citizen that wanted to make a difference. And now, unfortunately, she's become essentially an employee of Joe Cairo and does as asked. Port Washington only got 5 roads out of the entire town of North Hempstead. Meanwhile, the supervisor paved her own road, which by all accounts was in zero need of paving. It's shameful, it's not right, and under me, not only will we save with Dave, we will pave with Dave, and we will pave equitably.
Okay, we're at the final question.
Can I respond about my
No, we do not do rebuttals. Mr. Kerpen, how will you help get voters to the polls?
Ooh, great question. I'm all about getting as many people to vote as possible. We're actually trying to get a bus that will take people throughout all of the town. Of course, I'm all about social media. I don't have the big money that my opponent has to send out, tens of thousands of mailers saying horrible, vile, deceitful things. But I have social media, and I have lots of wonderful supporters that are going to help get the vote out. And I think we're going to see a really, really great voter turnout. It's an odd year. Obviously, it's not a presidential election. We've got the town and we've got the county. But I think from lots and lots of conversations that I've had, voters are really, really sick of the partisan politics and pettiness that currently happens under local government under our current town supervisor. And I am very, very excited about getting the vote out this election day, and early voting. Early voting starts October 25th, so get that vote out.
Ms. DeSena.
Okay, I must say that my road has not been paved in over 20 years, and there are 40 other houses on the road that deserve their fair chance. As for voting, yes, early voting, absentee ballots, we need spouses. I mean, this is the beauty of actually local year elections, is that we can educate more people about what's at stake on the ballot. The fact that we're paving more roads, the fact that we've renovated more parks. How is that ever going to be heard in a campaign that involves $20 million being spent on a congressional race? So I think it's a shame that local elections are being drowned by the big politics. And by the way, next ones that will move will be the village elections and the school board elections. How will you feel when you can't get to know the school board officials because they're also mixed in with the bigger elections? So again, I want to thank the League for all they do to educate and encourage about voting, educate what's on the ballot, and I urge everybody to vote in every election, library, school, every election.
Before we take closing statements from the candidates, I would like to remind voters that early voting begins Saturday, October 25th, and Election Day is Tuesday, November 4th. A recording of this forum made by North Shore TV will be available on the LWV of PWM YouTube channel within a week. Please put Monday, October 6th at 7:30 p.m. on your calendars for the Nassau County Legislature District 11 Candidates Forum at Port Washington Library. Now on to the closing statements. But before that, please offer applause to both candidates for their willingness to answer all of your questions tonight together on the same page. Mr. Kerpen, you're first.
Thank you. Tonight you've heard two very different visions for the future of North Hempstead. My opponent offers deceitful mailers, broken promises, and more of the same partisan politics as usual. I offer something different: honesty, common sense, and results. As a math teacher, an entrepreneur, and a lifelong neighbor, I know how to listen, how to solve problems, and how to make every dollar count. I will cut taxes by eliminating waste and political perks. I will finally fix our broken buildings department so that small businesses can open and thrive. And I will transform North Hempstead Beach Park and our other parks into the crown jewels of Long Island with family entertainment, concerts, festivals, and maybe even a banana ball expansion team, turning our parks and waterfronts into places we can all be proud of. Most of all, I will reject extremes and serve all of us, Democrats, Republicans, and independents alike. That's what true leadership looks like. My name is Dave Kerpen, and I ask for your trust, your vote, and your partnership in building the future that our families deserve. Together, we can restore pride, create opportunity, and yes, save with Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Kerpen. Ms. DeSena, would you begin your closing statement?
Okay, before we end, I want to thank my opponent for having thrown his hat in the ring. I know it's not an easy thing to do. That being said, I believe that I have earned your trust and deserve your vote this November. I ran because I was tired of business as usual at Town Hall. We had 30 years of one-party rule in North Hempstead, and all I could see were rising taxes and declining services. I saw families being pushed out of our communities, and I was determined to reverse all of that. Naysayers told me it couldn't be done, that you can't fight City Hall, but we proved them wrong. We delivered 3 years of consecutive tax cuts. We are paving more roads than ever before, 5 times more. We are finally changing our streetlights to LED, all 7,000 of them, a project that was held up for years. We are planting more trees than ever before, 1,200 this year. And we are upgrading more of our parks than ever before. Again, all while cutting taxes. We proved the naysayers wrong. Even Forbes magazine rated us one of the top 15 places to live in America. But there's more to do. We have to hold the line on taxes, and we must keep public safety a top priority. We must continue rebuilding our town's infrastructure. I don't want us to lose this momentum. Your town government is doing things better than ever before. So I respectfully ask for your continued trust so we can continue that progress and keep moving forward.
Thank you, Ms. DeSena. I also want to thank everyone in the audience for your thoughtful questions, for spending the evening educating yourselves about both candidates, and for your engagement with democracy. Voters like you keep our democracy thriving. This forum is now ended. Thank you. I have no idea. You're going to have to ask me.